If you're joining us today, my name is Gavin Hill. With me today is Tammy Moskites, Venafi CISO and CIO. We're discussing the changing role of the CISO. Tammy, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So, Tammy, would you mind providing me with a brief overview of the role of the CISO over the last 5 to 10 years compared to today? And then also, what does that change tell us about how business risk and how the evolving threat landscape is also changing?
Well, the CISO role's changed quite a bit. I think back 10 years ago, my role was very tactical. I had to have business acumen, of course, but it was always seen as very technology driven around malware protection, identity management, user IDs and passwords kind of things. And that's really a lot of the focus. And it was all around, how many viruses did we have this month, and how many viruses, were we able to clean up? And as we fast forward throughout the years, my role has become more of a compliance driven, audit, legal, business focused leader. It's exciting to be able to wear multiple hats, but it's also very challenging. My role is not that of just going in and make sure that we have all the tactical things in place, but making sure strategically that we're enabling the business to be able to do their jobs. Mm-hmm. They have to be able to sell the things they need to sell. They have to be able to move quickly. They have to be extremely agile. And some of the CISOs that have been in the roles a long time, like myself, you find that we've had to morph and move. And knowing compliance laws and the legalese across the world has become a challenge. And it keeps us as CISOs having to learn every single day something different.
So you brought up an interesting point about having to be more agile now and address more of the business challenges and the business requirements, I'd say. Mm-hmm. How's cloud computing impacted that?
Everybody wants to move everything to the cloud, mm-hmm. and then they say, well, how do we secure it? And that's a challenge because it depends is always the answer I give. And they go, what do you mean it depends? And it depends on how much access you have to your data in the cloud. And, just like anything else that you don't have physical access to, there's always security concerns. Mm-hmm. So the security infrastructure or the thought process around how you protect your data changes quite a bit.
I've seen then also in many organizations, especially moving to applications to cloud, where you almost have lines of business bypassing IT controls and almost also having their own access to their own SSH keys, for example, which IT and the InfoSec group has no visibility into. How's that impacted from a CISO perspective, and how are you addressing those challenges?
It's very troublesome, especially we talked in an earlier podcast about the attacks on trust, mm-hmm. right, and not knowing what traffic was coming in and out of your environment. And that's an excellent point. Part of the reason I joined Venafi again was around the ability to detect the SSL, SSH, and other certificates in your environment. And being able to do that is key to know when those business areas are actually doing things they're not supposed to be doing and opening avenues into your environment that might be adding additional threat vectors into your confidential information.
Great insight, as usual, Tammy. I'd like to thank you again for your time today. Join us for the remaining podcasts on the Venafi CISO podcast series. Thank you again, Tammy.
Thanks for having me.